Hello everyone, my name is Nathan, and today it's time to have a look at... what is this game called? Biker Garage Mechanic Simulator. Right off the bat, I want to let you know this is not necessarily a game I recommend for anyone. However, I do intend to purchase a motorbike in spring, and I'm really interested in learning about the parts, getting to know the terminology in English, and also just knowing which part is where, what can you do with it. I mean, it's of course not hyper-realistic, but it comes close enough in order to learn a lot about motorbikes. Now, once I get into it in real life, I would like to do as much maintenance on the bike as I can myself, and only really bring it into the shop for more delicate repairs. But enough about real life, let's get into the game. At the moment I have two jobs. You also take them by going to your computer. You have access to the computer just by hitting T at any given time. There you have your mails where you get your jobs in. You can buy parts, you can buy bikes, you can sell them. There are some player stats, you can set a wallpaper. There's also a track that I haven't tested out. There are auctions. And of course the ability to build, repair and restore your own bikes and sell them. This bike right here is quite devastated, so maybe we check out the other bike first. Now, just like with other similar simulators, you can see which parts are considered broken by how rusty they are. Right-clicking on the bike will access the menu here where I can go into diagnose mode, and everything that is already known about this bike I can see the condition of. Hitting E, I can see which parts we don't know about yet, the white ones. So if we have a closer look at this suspension, we can see it is at 28%, and I believe for a functional part we need to have it above 60%. For most of the bikes you also have a to-do list. For instance, here we can see which parts they want us to check. We already know we're gonna have to exchange the suspension, so I can hit the middle mouse button in order to add it to a list that I can always look at using the P button. We also want to check out the front wheel, which has a proper condition. Let's check out the sprocket here at 2%, so that is gonna have to go, and the rear wheel is at 100%. Very good. So we checked all the parts they wanted us to check, and we know there are two broken parts, the sprocket and the suspension. There's also a technical problem, namely the right handlebar, which is this thing right here, which contains the brake fluid, I think. Well, you know, that's what I want to learn about. Yeah, this gotta have to be some brake fluid. So what we can do in order to fill this up is grab some brake fluid from here. We're gonna move this to lift 2. It has appeared right here, which allows us to actually use it, even though we don't have it in our hands. But now we have to click the service functionality. We go back to this right handlebar and we want to fill it up with the appropriate amount of milliliters fluid. We can see that this technical condition now has disappeared. So what we want to do now is purchase a few things. You can go back to your computer, or you can simply go ahead and hit, let's do disassembly. We want to get rid of these parts first. Suspension. If you click a part that you cannot take apart yet because some other stuff is attached to it, you can still do it, and everything that needs to be taken apart first remains visible. So I guess that was a mistake to actually fill this up, since we have to take apart the front wheel more or less. But let's go ahead and remove the hoses here first. Get rid of the headlight right there. Oh, darn it. Yeah, we really have to go all the way. Let's take apart the handlebars. Getting the handlebar holder out of there, we need to take care of the gauges as well. There is even the ignition, holy Moses. Here we have the brake disc. Let me see, probably next we have to do the caliper. Front brake caliper, wait. The pads first, okay. Finally, taking apart the wheel. And we should have access to our suspensions that we originally wanted to replace. Got that out of the way, the next part is the sprocket. So let's see what we have to do here. We need to get rid of the chain. Seems to be the only thing. Yes, okay, that is much easier. Let's go back into assembly mode, and I want to purchase my parts first. So buy parts, let's see, it's the chopper long fork bike. So that's what we want to choose, and then we can search for the parts. So we need a suspension right there, and we also need a sprocket. Oh, I could potentially actually repair the sprocket. Maybe I should have tried that. But I'm gonna show you about repair in just a second. Let's first go ahead and put the bike back together. Ah, no, the sprocket was actually at 2%. You need the parts to be at 20% at least in order to repair them. So chain goes back. Do we have to fit the chain? Yeah, look at that. Oh, we need to do something with the rear brake caliper hose. Yeah, that's what I thought. When you take apart the brakes, you have to refill them with brake fluid. Well, first things first, we have to put everything together, so we should be able to do that. Alrighty, I got all the parts in place. Now let's go ahead and get back into service mode. We need to fill this up once again. So that was kind of a waste before. We want to bring this to 100%, and then we actually want to get out of here and go down to the front caliper right there and fill this one up, the hose. Attach air compressor to suck in. Of course, how could I forget about that? So we need our trusty air compressor here. Move to lift 2. And right here with the front brake caliper, we want to suck in what we have in this brake fluid container. Sucking in. Wait. We fill up one chamber much quicker, it seems. I think I have to rinse and repeat this a couple of times. Maybe the tank is really small. I think we have to move on to the brake pedal hose. So this would be the brake pedal. Where is the hose? Maybe we just do brake pedal. Yeah, okay, this is what I have to fill up as well. I get it. Okay, I think I got them all. I just had to fill this up a couple times because we had to replace the fluids for the entire brake system, essentially. But this should be done. We have no missing parts or anything. So let's have a look at the email. It was Terrell, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, look at that. He even wanted 70%. What a crazy bastard. Anyways, we got some money, some experience from that. Let's maybe have a look at the player stats. Looks as though we could purchase a couple of upgrades. We should do that. Handyman would be good because I'm not very successful at repairing at the moment. So we're gonna purchase that. Ah, okay, so it's kind of a progression system. Every time I level it up, the next level becomes more expensive. Looks like there's also a junkyard where you can pick up parts for free, maybe. Gonna purchase some more inventory space, maybe the Furious upgrade as well. Paying 5% less for parts, that will be great as well. Clients pay me more, definitely. I'm even gonna upgrade that twice. And I'm gonna upgrade Handyman one more time. Okay, I'm happy with that. Right here is actually the repair bench. So as soon as you have something that is above 20% or close to 20%, you can go ahead and repair it. I managed to get this to 63%, which isn't too bad. Some clients want 60%, and if you want it, you could store these parts right here in your storage. So these are all the leftover parts that I have at the moment. You could decide that everything above 60% you put in here just in case you need it in the future. Let me actually do that. We're gonna move that over and the suspension here. Everything else is in a bad condition. We either need to sell it or scrap it. Now, you can only sell parts that are in a reasonable condition, which are these parts at the moment. So we're gonna sell all of these in order to make some extra money. Then there are gonna be parts we just have to throw in the dumpster here, such as this 2% sprocket. So there it goes. Now, let's have a look at this sports bike here. It looks as though most of the parts are actually done for. Let's maybe do a diagnose. Everything seems to be diagnosed for us. So there are 34 missing parts and 23 broken parts. What we should probably be doing is set up a list for all the broken parts so we can fix these first. We also need to charge up the battery, and then there is an engine problem. Ooh, not good. I like the shopping list about the game. I can just, highlight a part, hit the middle mouse button, and it's going to be added to the list. But I also wish these things right here would do the same thing. So for all the missing parts, I don't really have them represented here. I cannot even target them unless I go into add mode, but then I can only add the next viable part. So I wish they would allow me to create a shopping list based on that stuff. Looks actually like the engine is all good. We just need to oil it up again, probably. Well, let's get things started by disassembling the bike, I guess. And everything that is obviously broken, I'm gonna hit the middle mouse button on so we can get new parts. Jeez, everything is broken on this bike. I think I'm just gonna attempt to repair as many things as possible. Actually, we might not have to take this apart. And then we're gonna do the shopping via the tablet as we put things back together. It might be a little bit more agonizing to do, But with such a large shopping list and missing parts, we're just gonna lose overview otherwise. Nice, we got everything that is broken stripped from this bike. Let's do a quick repair. There are quite a few parts I can repair. Everything we get above 60% should be fine. I must admit, it didn't look good. I got one single part above 60% of all of these parts. Now for the fun part, putting things back together. We could now actually do the shopping list from here. I mean, there are always a few parts and it is always more convenient not to go back to the tablet for every single part. So I'm just gonna add the few parts that I can actually see here. We can then head to the tablet, Sports 1000 and just purchase these things. That's a little more convenient. Hitting T again, I can exit the tablet without exiting the mode I was in. So this way I can do things quite fluently, I would say. Slowly but surely, the bike takes form again. I also purchased a bunch of parts I didn't really need. But oh well, things happen. You got a chain there and the chain guard. Lots of parts. This job ought to give me real good money, I hope. Uh-oh. I'm missing one part and I don't know yet what that is on a bike. Steering damper. I have to look that up. Anyways, we got the entire bike put back together. Now, of course, we need to take care of the technical things such as, well, I guess, yeah, the battery needs to be recharged. The chain needs to be lubricated. Engine needs to be oiled. Water tank needs to be filled up. The tires need to be filled up with air, etc, etc. I'm gonna get started with the brake fluid since we already know about that, and we are also gonna need a compressor, so you also move to lift 1. So let's fill up the reservoir and then the hoses. There we go, brake fluid is done. Let's do the tires since we already have the air compressor here. We want to do about 2.5 bars for the front tires, or was it 2.3? It was 2.3 actually. And then we want to do 2.5 for the rear tire. Next up, we are going to need to fill up the water tank, so let's move water over. The water tank was here. Yeah, it's actually behind the fairing, so I'm not sure if I can. Yeah, I can actually fill it up here, so that is convenient. Next up, we want to lubricate the chain. Now, it's either this or that. This might be the oil for the engine. Let's go with that. No, actually, it's not the chain. Okay, so this was the oil for the engine. Good. We can fill up the engine oil first. 2 liters from the looks of it. Then chain and battery. Okay, so the chain would be done with this type of oil. Yeah, there we go. Oiling. Well, I guess the brushing we skip. You see, that's the problem with this game. It has all of these steps, but I wish these steps would either be animated or a little bit more in depth. Like, why don't I have to brush the chain first, or even tighten it when it comes loose? Oh, anyways, next up we need to take care of the battery. So for that I have to take apart a few things again. That's too unfortunate. Give me access to that battery, please. Right here. I'm just gonna remove this and then we're gonna charge it up. That shouldn't take too long. The charging station is right here. Battery. And yeah, that's what I thought. It just takes a second. That's another complaint I have about this game. I mean, you can order everything instantaneously, but it's still agonizing to order stuff. I wish it would take some time for the stuff to get delivered. So you have to be prepared for what you order. And then sometimes you have to put the bike apart, because as it stands right now, I just take a job, finish the entire job in one go, and then take care of another thing. But I wish it would be more realistic in terms of I get a bike in, then I diagnose it, have to order the parts, I have to wait for the parts, so I'm taking care of another bike in the meantime, etc, etc. Also, everything that's nice, like the compressor, then the battery charger, you have to do the tire pressure, you even have to paint some parts, but it's all just a one-click action, so I'm not really convinced. Alright, so last but not least, we have a paint job. Now, I'm not sure how I have to do that, actually. Where is my paint job? Ah, it is right there. No, it is still locked. Okay, that is a problem, because if I sell the bike like this, as cool as it looks, we're not gonna get as much money. Well, maybe I'm gonna take on another job in the meantime while we wait for this paint job to unlock. We have 2 new orders. We can actually check what's wrong with that. Look at that, known damaged part. So that is another big job. My machine has trouble shifting down from 4th to 1st. Okay, so if we check that, we know there's something wrong with the transmission case and the gear. So that might be interesting for me, since it's the first of these types of jobs. So going into diagnose mode, we should be able to see what's wrong with it, or which parts we have to check. Looks like we're gonna need a little bit of access to the transmission here, which is all part of the engine, I guess. So can I take the engine out? Oh no, this is gonna be agonizing. I probably also need a lift for the engine. So let's see how that's handled. There we have it, engine. Let's get you out. You spilled oil. Okay, that's another thing. Might want to empty that out next time. This looks like an engine lift. Can I use you? Ah, there it is actually. Okay, look at that. And we can also already see what's wrong with it. Can I go back into diagnose mode? Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Let's check this case as well. 17%. Oh, darn it. Well, we're gonna have to exchange that all. There is the gear, so we check that out as well. Okay. Nice, I actually like that, but then again, why not make me able to take the engine and bring it over to the lift myself? Anyways, the game still does for me what I wanted to do. I wanted to learn about motorbikes, I wanted to learn about transmission, motors and everything, the terminology, etc. And in terms of that, the game is providing. Yeah, looks like we will have to replace everything again. We can attempt to actually repair that. 48%, not really good, and 46%. Okay. Well, I'm gonna put that together. Maybe if I see something other that I find interesting, I'm gonna tune back in. I wanna see the paint job, for instance. That would be great. But other than that, I'm gonna catch you in a second. Alrighty, I fixed a couple more bikes. Unfortunately, I didn't unlock anything new, so I thought to wrap things up, we might want to check out the track. That could be funny. We could potentially buy and restore a motorcycle from the auction, so that would be great. What about the parking? What is this? Ah, there it is, the racetrack. Let me actually test that out. How do I enter? You know, I'm not 100% sure I already unlocked this feature. Yeah, alright, this is how the racetrack looks like and how the guy sits on the bike. I can already guess how this is gonna feel like driving. What I would like to know is when the heck am I unlocking more stuff? Well, the job I can do still here is kind of interesting because it's the first time we actually have to open up an engine in order to check the pistons. There we have the push rods, that's not really what I needed. There it is, the piston rod. Okay, that was the broken part. Darn it! To gain access to the pistons, you have to take apart a lot of the engine, let me tell you. So I have to get rid of a couple more parts here in order to gain space. I just want those pistons. They are right there. Just give me those pistons. Ah, finally. Pistons, come to Papa. So that means we can put this engine back together. Ugh. Man, there's one part I just can't find, the alternator. That's another thing I need to check. I thought that's a thing on the engine or gearbox somehow, but considering I just took the entire engine apart, I might be mistaken. Yeah, anyways, if you're interested in learning a little bit about motorcycles and taking them apart and putting them back together, this might be a game for you. There's also the racetrack and of course the auction. If I'm not mistaken, there is a junkyard. You have to charge up batteries, you're being taught a little bit about circuitry, but overall everything is quite simplistic. And I wish they would go a little bit more in detail, so a little more skill is required in order to do these jobs. But yeah, I think with that out of the way, we're gonna wrap it up for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great time and see you soon. Bye bye.